Exciting. Hi, everybody. We're debuting our new record today at Record Release Party with our fans out there at Facebook. It's very exciting. I've never done it before. I don't know if anybody has. We're so glad to celebrate with you, and we hope you like it. We're going to be answering some questions that you guys have sent me, hopefully gentle ones, and I will answer them with intelligence and aplomb, as always, right? And then they're going to give the let the band answer some questions. Good luck. And then we're going to play some music for you. But it's really great to be here with you today. Thanks for tuning in.
All right, here we go. Question from Gabriella Greco. She asks, if the Bonnie now could tell 17-year-old Bonnie the greatest lesson you've learned from yourself, what would it be?
The one that I can talk about? Let's see. Well, thank you for your question. I wish I had known me back then. I wouldn't have paid any attention because I'd be an old, who listens to anybody over 30. I would say get a little bit more sleep and try to not throw the baby out with the bathwater and work on relationships before you write them off. That would be a good help back then. Thank you.
Okay, Rick Aubin asks, one of the things that you are most known for is performing with other artists, either in duet or background roles. What is your most memorable recorded collaboration, either live or in studio?
Oh, God, that's a tough one because it's like picking your favorite kid, I would say it's a tie between recording with my dad, the great Broadway legend John Raitt. When we did 3 songs for his Broadway Legend album, I got to sing Hey There from Pajama Game, which was he debuted on Broadway in '55 and was in the film. And we did some songs from Annie Get Your Gun, and I'd have to I can't leave out John Lee Hooker, I'm in the Mood. We both won a Grammy, our first Grammy for that in 1990, and just to be in the room with my pal and be able to go head-to-head with that guitar and that slinky, sexy song I'm still getting moist thinking about it.
All right. We have 2 questions that are alike, so I'll ask them both. One is from Sal Dickinson. Who are the musical artists or musicians you have not collaborated or performed with that are at the top of your list to play with? P.S. I love your duo with Boz on Hell to Pay. And then Rosemary Ross asks, you've played with some greats. Are there any up-and-comers you'd like to have join you?
Well, that's a loaded question. Thank you for that. Those are cool questions. Well, I would say I love Bruno Mars. I love Brittany Howard from the Alabama Shakes. Our special guests on my tour, the California Honey Drops, love them, love them, love them. I would love to hear any of those guys cover my songs, and I'd love to duet with them. And there's Adele, and I think we'd make a lovely couple. I'm so honored that she recorded I Can't Make You Love Me. So I don't know. I think all those people would do killer jobs with any of the tunes I have. I wish Etta were still alive. I wanted to produce a record of her singing all my R&B and torch songs, and there's some great new singers out there, but those are just a few.
Great. Karen Wilson-Stepp asks, was it hard to perform so often with Jackson Browne without falling in love with him?
I read this one before I came on here. I just puts a big grin on my face. Yes, it is hard to know Jackson Browne, but it's not hard to not fall in love with him. It's impossible not to. He's been like a brother to me, but we don't have to spend Christmas together or argue about money. So we've worked together in the fields on so many social causes, and I love his music, and we've been playing together since 1970 when I was 20 years old and opened for him in Syracuse at the Jabberwocky. He is still producing and creating some of the greatest music of his lifetime, and he's a constant inspiration, and he tells me exactly what he thinks about what I'm doing, which is great because nobody in my family will do that. So I love him dearly, and yeah, he's pretty cute.
Cynthia Young Sanders asks, what role has your Quaker upbringing had on your activism and the evolution of your music?
Well, I'm very, very grateful that my folks became Quakers right in the late 40s, and I grew up in a household that was very concerned about the Cold War issues of the nuclear testing, and the civil rights movement was in its burgeoning the early days. My parents and I were really involved with the Ban the Bomb movement and the civil rights movement, so I got a lot of respect for the environment and giving back and humanitarian issues and trying to work out conflicts, because the Quakers are pacifists and they go in places where there's intense conflicts, and a lot of times they can get the two sides to sit down together. So I have really had that inform a lot of what choices I make when my social activism and the groups that I support over the years. So big fan of the Quakers, and specifically if you want to learn about what they're doing in the world, American Friends Service Committee, Friends is another word for Quakers, and they do great work.
Candace Bray asks, I have been a dedicated fan since the early days. You and I are just 1 year apart, so we grew up together. Your music is the soundtrack to much of my life. Can you give your old fans any sort of advice that has helped you weather the storms of life? Any wisdom that has come with age?
Well, sister, thanks for asking, and congratulations on making it this far. Any of us will know that with time, so many other people didn't make it, so many heartaches, broken relationships, disappointments, and the one thing I've learned that's really served me well in my near 30 years of sobriety is something I learned about, hold on just a sec, you guys, sorry. Sorry about that, it was distracting. One thing I've learned is to really, if something's not going well, you have the right and the obligation to either address it and try to work it out and make it better and get what you want, or you should leave, So do what you can to clean up your messes right away and sort of keep taking inventory. And that's the lesson that I think has made the biggest change in my life, is just being able to address what's going on and take inventory about how my actions are affecting other people. And if something's toxic, get out of it. Don't stay in a relationship or a work situation that's not bringing you joy. Take responsibility and get the hell out.
All right. We hear your comments, and we've turned it up a little bit. We hope you can hear us better. Gail Pruslin asks, you have covered the songs of many others with your own style and interpretation. Who would you like to cover one of your songs?
Oh, I probably answered that before because I thought I was answering that as well. Boy, anybody that would, you mean the ones I've written, if that's what you mean? Boy, I would be knocked out if John Legend or Adele covered one of my tunes, or, anybody did some of the R&B stuff, it would be fantastic. So all comers are welcome.
Jack Giacomina Friend asks, with the exception of learning from all of the blues masters in your early days, have you ever had regular vocal and or guitar lessons?
No. I wish I had had guitar lessons. I taught myself to play. My grandfather and parents gave me a guitar when I was 8 because I wanted to be Odetta and Joan Baez. One was a little bit more possible. And I taught myself how to play, and then I taught myself off of records. I luckily have a good ear for languages and music, and took piano lessons for 5 years, but I'm easier to write on the piano, but the guitar is what I love, and I really wished I'd had a little vocal training, but I on occasion, when nobody's listening, use my dad's warm-ups, and I ride my bike now out on the road during the day before we go to sound check, and I make all kinds of funny noises that I hear are good for your voice warming up, so I think my band would quit if I had to do that in the dressing room next to them. And with time, I think warming up and practicing is better.
We have a question from Instagram. Deborah asks, when choosing songs for an album, what do you look for? Is there an overall theme from which you select pieces, or does that come later once you've chosen the songs you connect with?
Yeah, I never really know what I'm going to pick. A lot of it is determined by what I want to add to the show. If I'm missing, or I have too many songs from the old days that are in a certain groove that I really love, and I don't want to keep singing the same ones over and over again. So some of it is to just say something fresh, lyrically. And I've said this before, but I have covered a lot of aspects of love from every angle. And to find new songs and new things to say is really a challenge, but so satisfying. So finding something new musically and lyrically, and basically 12 great songs, whether I write them or somebody else. I don't have any more concept than that.
Okay, Tim Bird asks, hi, Bonnie. I seen you with the Rolling Stones in San Jose, and it was an amazing evening. Question, Did you intentionally enter the stage from a different side than planned? Because Mick Jagger appeared startled and looking for you to come out from opposite side of the stage as you snuck up and bumped into him. I got a real kick out of that, as I'm sure he did as well, by the grin on his face. And the question number 2 is, did you get the honor of choosing Let It Bleed to perform on? It was one of the many highlights of the evening. P.S. You play the sexiest, badass slide guitar ever heard. Peace.
Well, thank you so much. I'll be playing Gypsy and Me for you today. Let's see. I just went where they told me, and there was a lot of action going on that night on the stage, and I just came out, and I probably either came out prematurely but that was the side I was supposed to come. Maybe he just didn't remember, but they were very gracious to invite me, and they picked the tune. And I was thrilled to sit in, and our band opened for them a few times on those last couple of tours, and it was a highlight because they're my heroes.
Okay, Mimi Bertrand asks, my question is, what is your favorite song you have written to date, and would you please think about redoing Going Wild with Finns on keyboard and Georgie on guitar? I would love to hear that with his band. Thanks for all the great music. Best band.
Thank you, my wonderful band. And thank you for appreciating that song, Going Wild for You. I love that tune. That's a really good idea. Hey, guys, in case like 63 old songs wasn't enough at rehearsal, let's learn one more. I know it. That was several bands ago. Thanks for asking and reminding us about that one. That's a tough one of which one did I write that I like the best. Boy, I mean, it all depends on what era. I'm really proud of Come to Me. On Luck of the Draw, I think Nick of Time probably means the most, and it was the most life-changing. So if I had to just pick one, I probably would pick Nick of Time.
Okay, it's the 20th anniversary of the Boys and Girls Clubs, and they're still going strong across the U.S. Mimi O'Hara asks, where do you see the future of solo female artists headed, and how can we encourage live music in education when funding is so threatened in high schools?
Well, that's a two-pronged question and a good one. I really think there's never been more women in bands. I mean, Beyonce and Prince's bands they had all-women bands. There's Susan Tedeschi, there's St. Vincent. There's just fantastic instrumentalists on almost every instrument that are much more showcased now in bands. And Slater Kinney, Chrissie Hynde, great singer-songwriters. And they're melded in with their bands, So the era has changed quite a bit since when I started out. And there's a lot of solo folk artists that are really great on the guitar, like Joni Mitchell was, as well as a band leader. Sean Colvin's one of my favorites. I think people just, like guys or women, they just practice your instrument and get good at it until somebody wants to hear what you have to play. And in terms of where the music education's going, it's a crime that we're cutting education to, to the schools and especially in disadvantaged neighborhoods, as if the arts were something that was just a luxury. It's actually been shown in test after test that people that get exposure to the arts of all kinds, but especially music, has a lasting impact on people's self-esteem and young people's ability to express the whole person and get in touch with feelings they otherwise couldn't. Just receiving from internet or TV or looking at the screen. It's great to not only love music, but to play it. And the great thing about now is that you got tutorials on how to play any song on YouTube at any level, beginners up. So get an instrument, get good at it, and have some fun.
Okay, we have Pack Pryor asks, Bonnie, you've raved about Lowell George and Little Feat your entire career. How come you've never recorded a full album with the band? Can we hope?
Oh, that's very sweet. Well, I have this band that I really love that I like to keep working. And funny thing about house payments, right, guys? They just keep coming. So I see the guys from Little Feat and sit in with them, and I've cut a couple of songs with them at the Lowell Tribute and the Nicolette Larson. I mean, I've guested on their records. They played, Billy Payne was on most of my records in the 70s, and I love them dearly, but I don't know, I would never put my guys out of work enough to do a whole record and go on tour with a different band. I don't cheat. I guessed, but I don't cheat. That would be cheating. But thank you for asking. I love them too.
Last question. A fan asks, who is your greatest influence on slide guitar?
Well, I would have to say that be two different styles that I play, and my first inspiration was Mississippi Fred McDowell, and my second was Raitt.
All right, thank you. We're going to ask the band some questions, and we're going to start with guitarist George Marinelli.
Be nice, guys.
Okay. We are nice guys.
George.
Yes.
Lisa Martin asks, what is the name and story behind the puppet that sits on your amp during the last few tours? Thanks.
Well, that's Babu. We were touring in India some years ago, and I always wanted a son. So he came up for adoption, and I filled out some papers. No, we cut a John Cleary song called Monkey Business, correct? And someone gifted this nice wooden marionette to Bonnie, and I co-opted him, and she has visitation rights, but he's mine. He sleeps in my bunk on the bus. He actually has a nicer bunk than I do.
All righty. Colleen Nelson asks, what song off the new album, Dig In Deep, is your favorite to play?
Live to play on stage?
Sure.
What, one song? I thought you said it was going to be two.
She's asking for, okay, you can give two. Let's do two songs off the new album.
Okay. I really like a song called I Knew by Pat McLaughlin. He's a good guy, and it's a fun song. And there's a song, not because I wrote it with Bonnie, but it's just fun to play, called Come Around Is Going Through. It's just a feel we wanted to play, and we wrote a song that's kind of raunchy rock and roll, and it's fun.
All right. Thank you, George.
Thank you.
We're going to mosey on over to Mr. Fatar. Ricky?
Have I got to speak in this mic, I
Yes,
guess?
you do. Your turn. Hot seat.
Yeah.
Michael K. asks you,
Michael. G'day, Michael.
how did you join up with Bonnie?
Let's see. After the Luck of the Draw album, Bonnie asked me to go on the road with her for the summer. That was 25 years ago, and I guess things are working out.
All righty. Shirley Pasley asks, which part of the U.S. is your favorite regarding hospitality, food, and venue settings? Thank you.
Well, the food is good in the South. Where was it? Hospitality?
Hospitality, food, and venue settings.
It's pretty good in
Forage.
the South, too, yeah. Venue settings, I like places like Red Rocks, but I also like playing in the clubs and smaller theaters, which sound good.
All right. Thanks, Ricky.
Bye, Shirley.
All right. We are moving on to James Hutch Hutchinson on bass.
Uh-oh.
Hutch, we're asking from Jerry White, did you play on Thing Called Love? That's the track I take to the music store when listening to speakers. What songs do you listen to when you're evaluating speakers for bass and low-end sound?
Well, we're glad you take one of our tracks to the store to check out your speakers. But I really I listen to a wide variety of stuff, and so when I'm checking out audio gear, I pretty much listen to a wide variety of stuff, from classical music to world music to reggae music to Brazilian to whatever. And I think that gives me a more broad perspective. So whether you're listening or checking out gear, I think that's the way to go.
Great. Sarah Bennett asks, what's the largest crowd and audience you have played? Also, name the most memorable.
Specifically, the largest crowd, that's a tough call, but it may have been in Diamond Head Crater on Oahu in Hawaii, New Year's Day of 1973. And I think it was Journey's first gig, and I was playing with a bunch of Bay Area musicians, Pete Sears and John Cipollina, and we opened for Santana, and I think there were about 75,000 people in this crater. And I think the most memorable for me, any of the Stones gigs we've opened over the years, and last summer at Fenway Park with James Taylor, because I grew up in Fenway Park, and it was a big deal. And I thank Bonnie for doing that gig and the opportunity to use the Red Sox locker room as our dressing room.
All right. Mr. Mike Finnegan on keys. Jimmy B. asks, you have had such an incredible career playing with everyone from Jimi Hendrix to Crosby, Stills, and Nash, and you even got to play with Etta James. Can you share a special story or two from playing with them?
Well, there's millions of stories. I think the main thing is for me, just being lucky enough to do that. That's kind of the the highlight of that question. And thanks for the question. I think, thinking of, well, the Hendrix thing was just an accident. I just happened to be in New York City at the right time in the right place. And playing with Crosby, Stills, and Nash all those years was a thrill. Of course, all the great classic American rock and roll music that they wrote. And Maria Muldaur introduced me to Stephen Stills in 1976 at the Milwaukee Summerfest. That's when I met Stephen, and that's kind of what led to with CSN. And Maria introduced me to Bonnie too. But Maria was a pretty good connection for me. Etta James, playing with her, what an icon. Bonnie mentioned her before, how she would have loved to have produce Etta and work with Etta. She was so huge in my life. I think maybe the third or fourth record I ever bought in my life as a kid was an Etta James, The Wallflower. And, it took years later to wind up being in her band and recording with her was a certain special thrill for me. It's like, man, how did I get to do this, I'm with Etta James.
Excellent. Sarah Kunkus asks, which regular set song is your favorite to play and why?
Well, we've just been rehearsing a lot of the new material for the new album, and all of those are kind of replacing some of the others as my favorites. I love everything that we do, to tell you the truth. Bonnie's got this huge book of material that she's accumulated over so many years, and for me it's been a great experience learning all these songs, some of which I'm familiar with, some of which I wasn't, and so what I'm looking forward to now is getting inside all these tunes that we recorded a year ago and really fleshing them out and getting deep with them, digging in deep.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Bonnie, for sharing your stories and your answers with us. And now, how about a little music?
And now.
Please welcome Bonnie Raitt and her band.
Thanks, everybody. Here we go, the Gypsy and Me. Hold on. I think you turned my guitar up instead of down, baby. I like the way it sounds, but that's too loud. Live, brought to you from Let's Do It Again. Highway moon is calling like some lover from some other land. Before the dust can settle, I'll pick it up and tear it down again. Are you dancing out there? I hope so.
Look at him.
Thank you so much for watching us. Happy record release today. I hope you love Dig In Deep.